All right,
we run around the island. They said it's about 20 miles.
20 miles works.
We jump on one of those. Is that a paddleboard, surfboard, whatever it is?
I think it's stand-up paddle.
Stand-up paddle. We go out about 10.
10 miles out will work.
10 miles out, 10 miles back, and then maybe we'll swim to that cruise ship way out there.
Circle a cruise ship and come back in.
And come back. What do you think about?
That's a deal, man.
About 5 hours.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Spartan Up Podcast. We're in the Pittsfield barn, the Amy barn. I'm surrounded by Colonel Nye, Sephra, Joe, Marion behind the camera. The producer makes this all happen. And this interview is with Bart Yasso. Bart has a really interesting job title, the Chief Running Officer at Runner's Magazine.
I think he created it himself.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you got to interview him.
Got to interview him. He told me some amazing tricks on how to get across country.
How to get across the country.
Yeah, without spending much money.
Fantastic. So if you've ever thought of crossing the country,
if
check out
that's a problem for you.
There we go.
I like crossing the country.
Well, for the rest of us, it might be a problem. But anyway.
So let's go see what Bart has to say about that.
We are here for Spartan Up Podcast in the Bahamas with Bart Yasso, Chief Running Officer for Runner's World Magazine. And he's got a really unique story that we're going to dive into here. How the hell do you end up as the Chief Running Officer for Runner's World?
Yeah, Joe, I don't know. It's been a crazy journey, but a fun journey. You know, some of the things that helped me out tremendously were doing crazy races, like Badwater. Like, I committed to doing Badwater back in 1989, back when I was 146 miles as a work assignment for Runner's World, because they said no one else on staff's going to go out and run 146 miles through Death Valley, so they said, Bart will. So, of course, I did it.
When was that? That was 1986.
1989.
1989. What year did that race start?
I think it was the third year of the race. And
So
back when it was 146, we went to the top of Whitney before they cut off that section.
That top, yeah.
Yeah.
I was happy to end it before the top.
Yeah, I got you. But doing things like that, running 100-mile races in the Himalaya, you know, I never said no to anything. Anything they threw on my plate, I accepted it, embraced it, and loved it. And it paid off. It worked in my...
So, but how does that happen? How does a young person just get into that? I know why I got into it. I was being chased.
Right.
But why did you get into it?
You know, I was in that point in my life, 21, 22. I was either going to continue down this path, which wasn't a good path, of alcohol and drugs, or I was going to turn the other way. And thank God I turned the other way. And then I never looked back.
You grew up in Pennsylvania?
I grew up in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. But, you know, back when I picked up running in the mid-'70s, everybody was running 100 miles a week. So if you wanted to run the Boston Marathon, you had to go out there and run 100 miles a week.
But there weren't a lot of runners.
There weren't a lot of runners.
But the ones that did ran a lot.
We ran lonely 23, 24-mile runs all the time back in the 70s. But we loved it. And, you know, when I did my talk last night on the cruise ship, people asked me about motivation. And I always said, I had the motivation. I had to like hone myself back that I didn't go out and run 40 miles every day. I just loved it.
You had energy.
I had energy, and you know.
Tell me about the drugs and alcohol, though. How did that happen?
I made that mistake at a young age.
Like teens?
Yeah, and you know, I always say when you hang out with people similar to what you're doing. So I was hanging out with people that were into drugs and alcohol, and I thought it was normal to be drunk every day. And
they say you're an average of your 5 best friends.
Yeah.
So you had the wrong 5 friends.
I had the wrong 5 friends. I realized that at a young age, thank God. I made that change. Best thing that could have happened to me, saved my life.
So you just pointed something, because I'm a father now, and so I just have to make sure each one of my kids has the right 5 friends.
That is exactly right, Joe. And I know I watched your son do that 50-kilometer race in Reading, Pennsylvania, so I know he's got some good friends.
He's got some crazy friends.
He's got some crazy friends, so you got him steering in the right direction. But it is true, you become like-minded. So when you're in that haze of where I was, I thought it was normal because the people I was hanging out with was normal.
Right.
But when I was able to step away and look at the lifestyle I was leading, I didn't want to lead that lifestyle.
So how does that happen? Let's wait for this vehicle to go by. Hang on 1 second. Clearly, they have no respect for podcasts.
The four-wheeler backdrop, I like it.
So you're in the middle of this bad situation with these wrong friends, most people can't see that they're going down the wrong direction. How'd you do that?
Yeah, I was lucky. I think it was a couple of people really close to me, like my mother and close friend. And then I had my best friend growing up was in a serious car accident because of how drunk he was. I mean, he actually stepped out in front of a car and got hit.
So a major event did it.
Yeah, I saw him in the hospital with tubes and literally on the edge of death.
You said
and looking into his eyes, I was looking into my eyes.
Right.
And I said, that's going to be me. And I didn't want that to happen. And
Wake up call.
Yeah, it really was a wake-up call. And that was right around 1976. And I just got into running just to get in shape. I didn't look at running as a sport. I was going to do another sport, but I looked at running and get in shape. And then I did that first race, and then I was hooked. Because I loved it. I played a lot of other sports, but the clock doesn't lie. It's you and your hard work versus the numbers on that clock when you cross the finish line. No matter if you're running 1 mile or 146 miles.
Clock doesn't lie.
It doesn't lie, and you get the payback for the hard work. And that's what I fell in love with the sport. You're not judged by anybody. Your hard work.
You've been running, I have this right, 38 years? 38 years.
Pretty steady for 38 years.
And you're still running how many miles a week?
These days I go to the gym more, spend a lot more time on my bike. I've always been, I did the Ironman back in the days and cycled across the United States by myself twice. So I've always done other sports.
Was that awesome or what?
Oh, the best athletic experience of my life.
Yeah.
Cycling across the United States. I did it twice by myself and it was...
incredible, right?
Yeah. When I finished that first time, I came to work the next day. I always commute on my bike to work. So I cruise in the Runner's World office on my bike the day after, I just rode 175 miles a day for 18 days, and they didn't think I would ride to work the next day, and I was like, I said, believe me, if I had the time off, I'd go ride across the country again right now.
So
but I waited.
So you came west to east.
I did both times west to east, yeah.
I went east to west.
You were tough, Joe. There's this thing called prevailing wind. I
know.
And then it's called prevailing headwind.
I was stuck in Kansas. Well, I took some friends. One of my friends died on the trip, but we were standing up, pedaling as hard as we could, doing about 4 miles an hour.
Yeah.
We parked our bikes outside of a pancake shop. Went inside to get pancakes. We came out. Our bikes had blown about a mile down the road. So yes, I agree.
Trust me, going west to east is the way to go. I mean, I still ran.
I didn't know there was a rule. I didn't know about.
Yeah. See, I had an older gentleman who used to hold the record for over 50 for riding cross country, and he was the guy that said, here's what you got to do, and he set me up and kind of guided me a little bit. But then I did a northern route, which, do the southern route if you're really trying to break records. I basically went from Seattle to New York City.
Nice.
Started a little northwest.
I did Vermont to LA.
Yeah, see, that's a longer journey.
You know what I think? I hit some serious hills in the beginning, serious hills, and you just assume it's going to continue like that. So I could see why people might not go that way.
Yeah, see, when you go west to east, so you hit a lot of you start out right in the Cascades and the Bitterroots, and you hit the Rockies, and you hit the whole range, or different ranges. But I thought the hardest part was western Pennsylvania, because after you hit the plains, and then you get to western Pennsylvania, and there's not a piece of flat land anywhere. You're going up and down.
I did PA.
Non-stop. I went through those old towns of Breezewood and Bedford and Pennsylvania and more.
Oh, but you stopped in PA. You didn't have to continue.
No, I continued.
You went to New York City.
Yeah, I went to New York. I actually went to Asbury Park, New Jersey. I just say Seattle and New York City as a focal point because people know where I'm talking about.
Sure.
But I started a little northwest of Seattle and finished in
What's the
Asbury
fastest
Park.
time people will do now from
Oh, man, they're down to like 8 days.
Oh, 8 days?
I mean, when they do it seriously with the crew. I was by myself both times.
So they're doing 300-mile days?
Yeah, it's pretty serious. I was averaging about 175 a day, 170 a day.
Which is a
I
right
had
number.
packs on my bike, doing it by myself. But just having that opportunity to cruise across the country,
it's the greatest way to see the
taking
country,
all the people,
Yeah.
not only the topographical changes, but the cultural changes, and you actually see it when you're cruising along at 16 miles an hour.
Can't
versus,
see it in the car. Yeah.
No, they don't.
I get it.
You don't get the personalities when you're on the interstate. You get the personalities when you're in the country roads and you go into the stores and buy some snacks and fluids, and when you're by yourself, you got to be self-sufficient. So I would always meet people, and man, it was so interesting.
Awesome.
But by far the most athletic fun I had until today, when I did my
Spartan race.
first ever Reebok Spartan race.
Awesome. And
realized,
thanks for throwing the sponsor in there.
Oh, I love it. I didn't realize I don't have the arm strength I thought I had when I got to those ropes and that one high wall that you have, and then I had to do burpees, and I don't do burpees in training, so burpees are hard when you don't do them. Maybe they're a little bit easier if you do them a little
Let's
more
take it.
often.
Why don't we go for a 26-mile run? We'll come back for the second half of the podcast.
I like that, Joe.
All right, let's do it.
I hope you're not sitting still while you listen. If you are, you better get a burpee break in.
Is there a correlation between the running, the biking across America, the Spartan race you did today, and success in life?
Yeah, Joe, I really believe, and when I physically see it, the great runners I meet the Olympic champions, world record holders in running with my job at Runner's World, and you always find out that they were successful at a very young age, and they committed at a very young age. When I talk to Olympic gold medalists, the common thread they always have is they knew when they were 12 or 13 or 14 years old they wanted to be an Olympic champion. When I was 12 or 13 or 14 years old, I was lost in a haze of drugs and alcohol. I had no clue what I wanted to be, but they did. Now later in life, when I got straightened out and became successful in running, it did pay off professionally.
It translated to professional.
Yeah, and people doing a Reebok Spartan race that at a high level, I guarantee you trace their roots, they're very successful in business because it takes that commitment to do your races at a high level, and they're using that commitment throughout their life, not just being a Reebok Spartan racer. They're doing it through everything.
Somebody said to me, you've got to think like an Olympic champion before you become an Olympic champion.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're saying, right? These guys.
Exactly, Joe. Yeah, and using yourself as an example. I mean, you started this thing, if you went to somebody, like if you went to Reebok in those very first days and said, oh, we're going to be on a cruise ship with 800 Spartan racers, we're going to take over this whole island and go crazy. They would have said, Joe, are you sure about this?
Joe, you're a little crazy. Everybody pretty much said
you had that vision and were able to bring it to life. If you don't have that vision and think down the road and think of success, nothing ever happens.
Well, I mean, vision is one thing, right? A lot of people have vision, but execution is another. And it's hard to execute, right? Because it's a lot easier to stay up late, have a few extra drinks, wake up late, maybe not.
That's the easy one.
That's easy, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to execute and stay on point.
I totally agree with you. But still, if you don't have that vision, you can't create what you created. So you have that vision, but then you have to have that other word, and that's that passion to want to do this. And I can tell you thrive off of seeing people accomplish this stuff.
Oh, I love seeing people healthy.
And that's
but you do too, right?
I thrive on it. But it's taking your passion and living vicariously through, like today, over 800 people out there doing it. But you do it yourself, so you feel like you're part of the game. But to see people accomplish this is fun to be part of it.
I think I just like to torture people. You know what I mean?
They pay you and you get to torture them. That's unusual.
I just like to torture them because I know at the finish line, they'll like me.
Yeah.
They might not like me till the finish. You know this with every marathon, right? You say to yourself, what the hell am I doing here? Even when you start a business, why did I do this again? But then when you get to the spot you're going, you're thankful.
Yeah. The finish line is always a celebration. The fun is the journey, how you got there, what you committed to.
Yeah.
But that's what it's all about. And we are a community of like-minded people.
Yeah.
Hanging over here at the barbecue, everyone has this fun, crazy idea on what we think is normal, which, other cruise ships would think it's abnormal.
Do you think it's weird that we have no alcohol on this trip and we're only eating celery and carrots?
That's what I'm doing, to be quite honest. I don't drink alcohol, but I follow a pure vegetarian diet. So I'm on there eating the fruit and the vegetables, living a good life. I know the typical cruise ship is the newlywed, the overfed, and the nearly dead are the three demographics that are usually on a cruise ship. This cruise ship is different.
Yeah,
this is a pretty fit bunch of people on a cruise ship, and it's a lot of fun to be around.
They certainly didn't expect rowing the boat.
No,
they did not expect that.
Took it to another level.
Yeah. Well, you're awesome.
Thanks
you,
for
Joe.
coming out. Oh, thank you so much.
Yep.
So back to Bart Yasso.
Blessings.
So you like Bart.
Blessings. Oh, it's so nice to hear you say that.
So you enjoyed Bart.
Stay in the pocket.
Stay in the podcast. Bart's a lovely guy, super accomplished. Obviously pushes the limits.
Had a dark
physically.
past.
I don't.
Yeah.
Let's
Had a dark
Yeah,
past,
that's
got into
interesting.
drinking, drugs, right? Like a lot of endurance athletes, and they shut it down and then take the addiction tendencies towards endurance sports, something healthier.
That's actually funny. Let's stay on that for a second, because that comes up now and then in these interviews. We talk to different people who say that. And I think about myself and my propensity towards the edge with things. And I've never had those problems, but I've always done these things. And I wonder if I didn't have outlets like that, if I would do stupid things. And, yourself, you're a pretty extreme guy too. Would you say that that finding an outlet for that energy is a good thing?
I think you nailed it with outlet. I think people like us that have this drive and fire that can't be put out need things to go do. And so ferocity and that young kids that don't quickly find that. For me, actually, it was cycling at a young age. What did I turn to?
Yeah.
So right.
But it's
But
funny.
is there an element in there about we say embracing the grind all the time, but is it embracing the pain? I mean, because these guys that are on drug, if they're addicted, if they're drinking, if they're on drugs, there's a large element of pain in there.
Endurance releases a lot of drugs into your brain, right? When you're out doing long distance stuff or anything that that requires that push through, all of a sudden the brain's drugstore releases all that stuff. So you're getting it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's just a healthy way you're getting it.
And you look at, like, I think about, the rock star thing about these guys who have everything and then they still need to go out and do ridiculous things. I think it's a lot of people, and Bart would say the same of him, where he's done these incredibly extreme things. It's because you just have a different threshold for what makes you feel alive. And like, I need to be out doing something really nuts to feel like I'm alive. If I'm just doing normal stuff, I go crazy. And I have a nephew that's going to be the coolest kid in the world. And this kid has so much energy. And I think, please don't make that kid sit in school all day. I just want to grab him and take him, because I know how hard it's going to be for him. And so I'm going to try and channel him into outlets for this. Instead of waiting till he develops problems like some people do, get him doing crazy stuff. And sorry, I'm going to tell you one other anecdote on this. A friend had a kid who did develop some drug issues. And I said to her, you know why? Because you made him stop doing all the fun stuff. Like, you said, don't jump off the roof. You're going to hurt yourself. Let the kid jump off the roof. Like, he's a kid who needs to do these things. Instead, he got into drugs and alcohol. Now he's out of it now, and he's on a better path. But I really think that we need to stop trying to protect people who need to be out doing stupid things.
And give kids stand-up desks in school.
Yep.
Right? Can't trap them in these little desks. You're laughing, but you.
I'm laughing about let the dumb kids be dumb.
There's no such thing as dumb kids. There's no such thing
I know
as
what
kids
you
doing stupid things. No, but I think it's a really an important fact. Like, for me, I went, again, I'm not trying to, but I went back to school for education because I don't understand why in your formative years, when you're building up your entire muscle structure, that you're sitting there listening. So, I'm wearing, for any of you listening, those are my bangles that I refuse to take off. So.
Blessings.
Refuses the word, as she's been asked several times.
Blessings from the Bengals.
No, but I think it's true. Like, you either have these kids where every morning, Joe, your kids are working out, right? I bet you they're more focused in school and they're chilled out because they've released all that, and you need to do that. And when you don't do that, and then you say, all right, here's some bad food, here's some stuff that turns straight into sugar. Now sit, don't exercise, and let me try to teach you something that you're not interested in. I mean, who in their right mind is this a good model for? And no offense, teachers try their best. I get it.
Blessings.
Blessings. Bart Yasso.
Bart Yasso. I was going to say the same. So Bart, here's a great guy, incredible guy, actually, really, really interesting, fascinating, engaging guy. Clearly found the outlet he needed, whether it was running. And as he said, running was never worked for him. He just ran and ran and ran. Cycling, that was an interesting story that you guys swapped about him riding one way across country, riding the other, and finding out after that it might not be the right way.
I went the wrong way. He went the right way. Tailwind helps, for sure. We had a tailwind, not to get off his story, but we had a tailwind one day, which I believe I talked about, that just pushed us for miles and miles. We were spun out. We couldn't pedal any faster. So if you are going to cycle cross country, go west to east. That's the tip there.
Oh, that's a great tip.
Excellent.
Would it help also to drive from like Maine to Florida so you're going downhill the whole time?
Yes,
Is that how it works?
Colonel and I are resident geographer.
That would be topography.
Well, there you go, topographer.
Okay.
So
I think actually it was a joke.
But back to Bart. One of the things that he said that I loved is he said, I just didn't say no to anything. And that's how he got the job, right? He said, when it came time to have somebody go do something else, well, Bart will do it. He said, yeah, I'll do it. And so he just got this reputation as the guy who'll do anything.
Well, he said that's how he ran the Badwater the first time, right?
Yeah. Right.
He just knew no one else was going to sign up to do it, so he covered it. ran, I think he said 89.
Yeah, I
Somewhere-
believe so. Yeah.
What year do you run
You said
Badwater?
it started 86.
I don't know what year I did it, but it was 100 and I want to say 136 degrees or something. My shoes melted and my shirt melted.
This is in the United States.
This is the United
Yeah,
States.
yeah.
It's the
Death Valley.
Yeah, Death Valley. It's the lowest elevation to the highest elevation.
I know, but
How do you stay
that's
hydrated?
that's
Oh my
pretty
God.
severe weather, though.
It's pretty
How do you
tough.
say
Legitimately, you have to run on the striped white line because it's the only way your shoes won't melt.
Wow,
The minute you step on the black, they melt. Isn't that crazy?
that is crazy.
Yeah. So
I'm
so Bart's
having flashbacks. But go ahead.
yeah. So Bart's done that. He's ridden his bike across the country. The kind of mileage he was putting in was astonishing. But what I love too is when you asked what kind of mileage he's running now, he didn't just answer with a number. He said, "No, I've switched." He said, "I'm doing some other stuff now.
Yeah.
Doing more
You
strength."
get
more
a
yoga."
little older, right?
Yeah.
Get a little smarter. Not that I don't think there's anything wrong with running or biking, but plus when you have a family, you can't go out for 6, 7, 8 hours, which is required to do those long distance events. So that said, you now know how to get across the country by foot
West
or by
east.
or by bike with very little money, and you know that going from Maine to Florida is downhill.
It is on my map.
You can probably do it with a skateboard.
Awesome. So if you want to learn anything else, pretty much I think we've covered everything there is to know about anything now. But we'll find something for our next podcast, which you will find on SpartanUpPodcast.com.
Thank you for listening to another epic story of success.
Find show notes, video, and audio from this episode at SpartanUpPodcast.com/077.
Or follow us on Twitter at SpartanUpPod. The Spartan Up Podcast is brought to you by Spartan.
To find a race near you, visit Spartan.com.